Many thanks for staying with us. This is Citizen Weekend with me, Lillian Muli. Tonight, our topic of discussion is rape. We want to find out what exactly is rape and how can it be proven that you were actually raped. We'll be taking a specific focus on why a significant number of victims of sexual violence choose to remain silent. And of course, we have also found through statistics that women and girls continue to be the most vulnerable and the highest reporting demographic over their male counterparts. We'll begin by taking a look at the statistics. These statistics were provided to us by the Gender Violence Recovery Center, which is a non-profit making arm of the Nairobi Women's Hospital that offers free medical and psychosocial support to survivors of gender-based violence. Let's take a look at the current figures in the country. Remember, these are figures that have been detailing reports of the year 2017, that is last year, and let's take a look at what they look like. So these are sexual violence statistics of January to December 2017, and as you can see there, we're looking at medical inpatient figures, and as you can see there, adults reading at 99, that's for inpatient. These are the ones who were admitted. For children, females 153, and medical outpatient, these are those that were not admitted to the facility where they reported the incident, 1,023 and 1,191 for children. So as you can see, the totals there, above 1,000 in terms of the figures that we have. That's for both female adults and female children. So that's for the year 2017, and as you can see, the numbers reading above 1,000. Let's proceed and look at the statistics in terms of the area hotspots, the areas that were found to be hotspots in terms of reports of incidents of sexual violence. As you can see there on your screens, Dagoretti, Kawangware, Kibera, Waithaka, Ngong, Kiambu, South C and South B, Thika, Satellite, again, which could be Kawangware, Rongai, Kangemi, and once again, reading their Satellite as well. So those are the area hotspots, the most rampant areas where persons have reported incidents of sexual violence having have happened to them. And also proceeding with the other figures that we have, the relationship to the perpetrator. We're seeing the highest number there, reading 62%, which means that most victims of sexual violence actually claim or allege to having known the perpetrator. That's 62%, which is the leading number there. And finally, as we look at the current statistics we have on matters sexual violence, the number of survivors admitted, once again, 84% were not admitted, 14% yes for medical care, and 1% for medical care and shelter. So those are the current figures we have from the Nairobi Women's Hospital, and specifically from the Gender Violence and Recovery Center there. We're going to be taking you through the story of a survivor of sexual violence, and she's with me here in studio. Irene Karemi, thank you very much for joining us. Sure. Irene is also a volunteer at the Nairobi Women's Hospital, and we thank you for your time. We're also joined by Rebecca Gitao, who is a psychologist at the Gender Violence and Recovery Center. Once again, just informing you that this is an arm of the Nairobi Women's Hospital, and it offers free medical and psychosocial support to survivors of gender-based violence. I'll begin with you, Irene, and thank you very much for sharing your story with us. I can only imagine how difficult that experience must have been for you. Let's begin with what exactly happened, where the incident happened.
Yeah. I would specifically share about the incident that happened in 2015, in February 9th. It was the worst nightmare of my life. It happened in Kibera, and at night, the thieves intruded my house, broken into my house when I was asleep. And they cleared their house, they stole almost everything. They beat me up, then they raped me. Yeah.
How many were they?
There were 10 thieves. Yeah.
So 10 different men attacked you sexually?
Yeah.
And were these people that were known to you? You say it was at your house. Did you recognize any of these people?
Certainly I didn't recognize any because they had faked their voices. They had put on some masks. You know, they had torches with lights off, so I didn't notice any. Yeah.
Were you alone in the house at that time?
Sure, I was alone. Yeah.
So I want to take you back to that particular incident. You're saying 10 people stormed into your house, proceeded to attack you sexually. In terms of, because I know a lot of questions are asked about how exactly did this happen? Why did they choose to do this to you?
Yeah.
Could you have said something? Could you have done something? Were you dressed a certain way? And these are uncomfortable questions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But initially their intention was to steal.
Sure.
Do you recall exactly how this happened and who started it, and did they say anything before they did what they did?
Well, I would love to start by saying that when the rapists come to intrude a lady or a woman, it's not because a woman is behaving in a certain way. They do it because that is who they are. It's not because the woman is who she is. Because certainly I'm a church girl. I'm a minister in my church, in my local church. And I don't dress indecently. So, and I didn't offend anybody in that particular community and all that. I've never had a disagreement with anything and anybody. But certainly they just came. They had some verbal abuse like, why are you beautiful and huna mshikaji? Why are you staying alone and you're beautiful? Why? We want to know, are you HIV positive? They really did a lot of verbal abuse. And certainly they started beating me up because I couldn't talk. I was in shock. I was so much traumatized. They stayed in my house for 1 hour and I'm all alone. I couldn't scream. I was frozen. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even move. So they started slapping me, kicking me, asking me why I'm beautiful and why I'm alone, why am I single, why am I not HIV positive, and such questions. So, and I couldn't be able to respond because it was a nightmare. It was the worst of life. And I shut up and they started packing things. And after they finished packing, they ate the food that I had cooked. And then they now started beating me. Then 3 of them started putting on some condoms and all that. And they landed on me.
And that was going to be my next question, whether they used protection. You're saying 3 of them used protection. What about the other 7?
Okay, three are the ones who did it. The others were all over beating me. Another one of them had a panga and he was like trying its sharpness on my neck and all that, trying to tell me in case I try to manifest any type of an alarm, he will cut off my head from. He actually told me, I will separate your head from your body. So I had to shut up.
Right. What did you do next? So after this unfortunate experience, what was your next course of action?
I passed out. But then immediately I came back to my senses. I remembered that I had 2 phones, so they stole one phone and the other one was under the bed. And I went under the bed and took the other phone and I texted my pastor and told my pastor, I've been intruded by thieves and this is what they have done to me. Now my pastor's wife works in Nairobi Women Hospital, Pastor Nancy Mwabili. and she literally tried to help me. I resisted, because so many rape survivors, they don't know how you will receive them when they talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to just handle it at my level and keep it as a private thing. But she pushed me. I switched off the phone and she sent the ambulance to my place, and that is how I landed in Nairobi Women Hospital. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Irene. Rebecca, you know, a very unfortunate and unfair question that I asked Irene here about what she could have done that could have led to this. Did she talk rudely? Did she provoke them? Was she dressed a certain way? And from the feedback that I've been getting since we announced this show, many victims say they don't report because they know how it will play out when they report it, depending on where they report it. How are you dressed? Kwani ulitukanana ama uliongea vibaya? Were you drunk? So in terms of reporting, what, even before we get to reporting, what exactly is rape? Because in this week alone, there's been a lot of back and forth over how exactly to prove that there was rape. Irene is talking about the fact that the assailants used protection. So what exactly is rape, and how do you prove it?
Okay. Thank you so much. And it's a very sad situation for Irene and so many other survivors that are out there. So how we categorize rape is when I have not given consent. Whether you use protection or you don't use protection, but if I've not given consent to have sex with you, automatically that is rape. And like when Irene is sharing, it's a game of power. So when a perpetrator wants to rape someone, first of all is to intimidate that person. First of all is to make that person vulnerable, because it's all about power. Because I want to take power that is within you. So rape generally is when I have not said yes. Yeah.
And in terms of, like I said, in terms of a situation, for instance, where somebody has been drinking, you know these people that attacked you, they're people that are known to you, you are probably in the same place, and therefore that uncertainty over how to prove that this actually happened, if they actually do say that, but this was consensual, we were at a party together, I know this girl, she's my girlfriend or she's my friend. What about in a scenario such as that?
Exactly, that's the problem we are having. Exactly, because we've gone out together, we are friends, but even as we drink, we did not mean we'll drink and then have sex. So what our society interprets, once we've gone out, a male and a female, there have to be sex. There have to be that connotation of sex. And so what happens, that is why now, because we went out with you and I have been raped, it's very hard for me to report, because the whole society, the whole community, everyone is going to condemn me. What was I doing? And the question you have asked, how are you dressed? And we all know, if I'm going out at night, I don't know how I'm expected to dress.
Yeah.
So those questions, and when people ask about how was I dressed, I ask how are children dressed, yet they are defiled. So I think this is a society problem where we all define, when we see a man and a woman, there must be sex.
In terms of, and I'm coming back to Irene, in terms of reporting, Irene was fortunate enough to have somebody that actually sent an ambulance her way. But what about victims who have to go to a police station and have to deal with that discomfort of, first of all, I don't know if there are female officers present in every police station as is required by the law in such situations. But what if you are in a situation where you have to go and narrate this ordeal to a male police officer, which first of all makes you uncomfortable if the assailant was male in the first place. And then again, also there's a comment here coming about the fear of a physical examination at the point of hospital now, where you're taken to hospital. How to go about actually disclosing this, and the trauma surrounding and the fear surrounding that immediacy of need to go and report this particular incident.
Like you're saying, Irene was lucky. We have so many survivors out there who are not coming to report because I've been abused by this man. Yet when I go to the police station, I'm going to get another mail. And so I'm imagining the questions that I'll be asked. And let's look at a scenario where I'm above 18. The first question I'll be asked, what were you doing with a man at night? Or what were you doing in that man's house? And so what most survivors do, they better keep it. And not, because I don't want any other question. Already I'm going through trauma. And the second question you are asking about whether every police station have a female, the ideal is every police station should have a gender desk. That is according to Sexual Offences Act and according to the requirement. But unfortunately, that is not what is happening. And so what happens is when you go to report, it's the person you find there.
Yeah.
So, and the question you will be asked, actually, in most cases, survivors are treated like criminals. Yeah. Because you're supposed to be registered, and you will find so many people in authority asking you even, what were you dressed? Yeah. Kulikuwa kama sangapi? Already you've been judged.
Irene, in your case, somebody sent an ambulance your way. Take us through what happened after that. Where did you go to? Did you go to hospital? Where did you go to hospital? And what procedures were carried out when you got there?
Well, I went to Nairobi Women Hospital in Adams, and I was admitted there, I think twice. Yeah, I was admitted twice. I received treatment. I received counseling. But I hated the test. I hated the test so badly, and the medication for the ARVs, I didn't like it at all because it made me have memory loss, made me lose focus, and it really worked on me negatively because I was also dealing with the trauma and the emotional brokenness of it. But I received a lot of help, and I'm the type that persisted. Becky can tell you I could go to her anytime I want and tell her what I'm feeling at that particular time.
What were you feeling, for instance?
Oh my God, I mean, a lot. There's a lot of bitterness, a lot of feeling of filthiness. I've kept myself in church well. I don't misbehave. I serve God. A lot of questions, a lot of pain. It's totally unexplainable. Yeah.
What about after hospital? Was there the need now to report this to police? And who helped you through that process? You're still healing. You're going through counseling. Yeah. You've been admitted. Did the police come to your ward? Did you have to go physically to the police station? Take us through the process of actually reporting this case now to the police.
Well, I went to the police, but now there's this problem of kitu kidogo. So I decided, let me deal with the forgiveness side instead of taking the law side. I didn't want the strain of give this for you to be served, give this for you to be given this solution. You're thinking it's legal and it's illegal.
Were they ever caught? Were the perpetrators, those that you accuse of doing this, were they ever caught? No. Were they ever people that were known to you after that?
Well, I understand later two were shot dead. I was so happy. Sounded like a painkiller. But then the others are free. Though I chose to forgive them so that I can be able to move on with my life.
Irene, in terms of somebody that has actually gone through something similar to what you've gone through and has chosen to be quiet about it for the reasons that were highlighted here by Rebecca, what would you like to say to them?
I would love to tell them they are having a slow death emotionally, there's something that happens through rape that is totally out of human control. And if you don't care, you don't take care about yourself and express it and speak it out and heal, you're having a slow death and you're actually killing people who are around you. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that once again, Irene. And to you, Rebecca, how many of these reported cases actually lead to conviction of the alleged perpetrator? We've talked about the blame game here. What were you wearing? Why were you out drinking with men? Why did you pass that route at this particular time of night? And yet, you know, it's notorious for such things. So when we talk about the perpetrators, first of all, proving that this was actually rape is an issue on its own. But then how many of these cases actually lead to conviction?
Now, it's so sad that, like looking at the statistics we gave you, where we have more than 3,000 survivors. And out of that, you find only 2 cases that have gone through. Because proving the case of sexual violence, following it to the rata becomes very difficult. One, the perpetrators will always have very good lawyers, while the survivor doesn't have a lawyer. Then again, evidence, trying even to give out those evidence, sometimes they are tampered with, because the documentation is from the hospital to the police to the court. There's a lot.
Let me just stop you right there. Evidence and tampering with evidence. What are the critical things that somebody should do should they find themselves in such a situation, so that we never have to have this conversation around evidence being tampered with or not, or there being insufficient evidence to prove that you were actually assaulted sexually?
Okay. The first thing that we always tell anyone, because all of us, we are candidate of sexual violence. Like Irene says, it comes to anyone. The first thing is you should report to the hospital within 72 hours. Because within 72 hours, it's very easy for medics and for us who are in the hospital to correct evidence and to preserve it. Once we preserve that evidence, again, we liaise with the police, because they come also to correct. When they are needed at court, we are there to provide it.
What of the case of protected intercourse, like in Irene's case here? How then would you be able to prove that there was actually an assault?
Unfortunately, the public don't know that it's not only the spams that we correct. There are so many things that we, including the bruises, that could, like you see, like what Irene says, that she was beaten. So there was physical abuse. So when we draw blood and we look at those bruises, there's so many things that we correct, including the clothing. So there's a lot that we can correct, even if there was, even sometimes the perpetrator would leave the condoms. So there are a lot of samples that we can correct from the perpetrator, if the perpetrator is brought. But most likely, because he's a survivor we are dealing with, there's a lot that we correct. Yeah.
So 72 hours, very critical. Within these 72 hours, what are some of the things that you should not do? If at all, day one is too difficult for you and you just feel like you can't report it, day two is still difficult, you still don't feel like you have the strength to make your way to report this incident, what are some of the things that you shouldn't do?
Okay, the first thing we advise people is do not shower. But one of the things, like she's saying, most of the survivors feel dirty, which is understandable. They feel dirty and they want to shower. So we have the campaign of the 72 hours where we try to create awareness, because this is not about you, it's about the perpetrator. Rush to the hospital, don't shower, don't even change clothes, don't go to the toilet if it's possible. That gives us like 80% of evidence if you are able to latch. But again, if you come after 3 days, we'll still get evidence. If it's within the 72 hours, there are specimens that are left inside and we are able to get. But the most critical thing is within 72 hours. But again, that does not mean that we can't also take survivors who come even beyond 72 hours. We still can do documentation. There are a lot, again, we can do.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm talking about the 72 hours is, and we're winding up now, is because when we looked at the statistics there, some of these persons are actually known to the victim. So in a case where it's a parent that's assaulting their child or a relative, and this is within the home setup, and this has been going on perhaps for a long time, the first person a child will report a case such as this to is probably to the mother, if it's the father that's doing it, or if it's to an uncle. And therefore, within the home setup, just from you as a specialist in these issues, how for the parent within the home setup, the first person that you go to as a victim, how they should respond to something like this, because a lot of women have actually been known to ignore what their daughters are saying about their husbands or about the uncles within the home, or even siblings. A lot of women have been known to say, no, don't say that about your father, don't say that about your brother, don't say that about your uncle. So what should be the reaction from that parent that a child goes to, or a victim of sexual violence goes to, if it's within the home setup?
Yeah, this is very common. I think what we say, the first person who have been told, they're also in a shock. How can my husband do this? How can my son do this? So they're in a shock. And again, there's a family secret. There's a family shame. What we forget is that the person, this child who have been defiled, the trauma will haunt her through, or him throughout his life. So what we advise parents is just talk about it. It's not about this child. It's not about, it's about supporting your child to heal and the future of the child. Because you see what Irene has said, you're going to affect yourself and the people surrounding you. So this child, as much as I keep quiet because it is the husband, it's my brother, it's whoever, finally it will still come back to me as the caregiver or the parent, because the future of the child has been destroyed. And also all of us, because when the future of the child is destroyed, that means even me as a guardian or a parent, my future is destroyed.
And final question to you before we close with Irene here. In cases where it's your word against mine because of some of the places or situations that I might have put myself in that could lead to some of these questions that we've brought up here, which seem unfair, but which are the typical questions that you'll be asked, even when you talk to friends or whoever, guardians, whatever. Some of the risk factors around rape, some of the risk situations that women or the vulnerable could put themselves in that could land them in such situations, and how to avoid them.
One, first and foremost, know who you're going out with. Just know who you're going out with. And in most cases, we are finding girls or boys being dragged. So this is way beyond you. But what do you know the company you are in? And then the other thing is, like I said, it's about power. I'm made vulnerable. That I take you out, I buy you drinks. So again, know who you are. So what is that company that who are you? So don't let anyone make you vulnerable. Stand out, and then finally speak about it. And then sometimes there are telltale signs. There are telltale signs that you can tell where we are heading with this relationship. But sometimes as women, we are not able to read those telltale signs. You know, when we go out and we had not agreed that we are going to your house, and you want me to be overdrunk instead of taking care of me. Those are some of the telltale signs, but we ignore sometimes.
And to you, Irene, now as we close, before we take your feedback, there are many women, girls that are watching your story tonight that have been through exactly what you've been through, if not worse, and they're writing in and sharing in your pain. Take us through briefly your recovery. Have you come out of this as a different person? Are you still struggling with coming to terms with what happened to you? For you, your journey, speaking to that person who's gone through this, having gone through this, speak to that person after your experience on how this experience has changed you.
Okay, thank you. Personally, what I did, I'm totally healed and transformed, though I became a little bit sensitive with some things, but I'm totally healed. I feel secure with myself. I love myself. I have self-esteem. It's back. It wasn't there really, but it's back now. And I would love to tell a girl outside there, or even men get raped, I would love to tell anybody who has gone through sexual violence. I mean, I would love even to ask them a question. For how long do you want to cry and hide in that pain? How long? Personally, I set timeline for myself. Becky can tell you, I set up timeline. I decided this is what I will do this month for my healing. So I divided it into several categories, and the first thing I dealt with that I needed so much is my self-esteem and self-love. So I realized that when I get it back, other things I'll be able to settle them. So I gave myself timeline, then I handled them with the help of counselors, and I got out of it. And another thing that I chose to do that helped me a lot is to express it. Every time I feel funny inside or in my head, in my emotions, I share it out. I would rather share it with a mama in church or my favorite auntie, Auntie Joyce in Kisii. I'll call a counselor, go to a counselor, go to my bishop, speak it out. And the more I released it out, the more I got liberated. And I would love everybody who is watching and you've gone through rape, you've gone through emotional humiliation, you need to speak it out. You need help. You need emergency help so that you can be whole, so that your life can come back to you. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Irene. We're taking your feedback now as we wind up this conversation, and we want to take a look at what it is that you're saying. We'll be taking that feedback very shortly. We hope that Irene's story has helped you realize, if you've gone through this, that there are other survivors that have been through exactly what you've been through and come out of it stronger. This is Amina. You're saying, first time I was abused sexually was in class 6, and it broke me psychologically. I'm still struggling to come to terms with it. It's a struggle. I have been suicidal. I have been abused as an adult too, and it is hard. I'm sending Irene my love. We are going to win this fight. And of course, many other messages coming in on our SMS platform here. We certainly hope once again that Irene's story has encouraged you to come out. It's never too late, even if 72 hours have elapsed, even if it's been years, you can still seek help and begin your path to recovery and healing. It's a conversation that we will continue. Men too are victims of sexual violence, like Irene said, and it is unfortunate that this vice continues to grow in this society, albeit the fact that so many systems have been put in place to curb sexual violence. We thank you very much, Rebecca Gitao. She's a psychologist at the Gender Violence Recovery Center. Rebecca, please tell victims how they can reach you, where to go for help. I think that's an element that we left out.
And I like what Amina has said. She attracted another abuse when she was an adult. Once you have been abused. If you don't get help, you attract another abuse. So it's good, like you're saying, even if it's after 10 years, please come for help. And we've worked with so many survivors who have regained themselves and their self-esteem. We are found in each and every Nairobi Women's Hospital. Currently, we are within 6 branches. Nakuru, we have 2 branches. You'll get 2 Nairobi Women's, one at the CBD, the other one just within Nakuru. Then when you go to Kajiado, we are in Longai. and we're in Kitengera. In Nairobi, we are in Haringam and Adams. So we are all over. You can come and you can get help. Just check in yourself there. Even if you're not getting medical attention, you'll get your psychosocial support.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Rebecca. And of course, Irene Karimi here sharing her story with us. Thank you very much, Irene. Irene serves as a volunteer at the Nairobi Women's Hospital, and she's been walking this journey with many other women that have gone through a similar experience. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure it's touched the hearts of many, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching Citizen Weekend. My name is Lillian Muli, and we thank you for all your feedback. Good night.